Hi, I'm Nick, and behind me is Matjiesfontein. This place is amazing. It's a Victorian town that's basically a time capsule. Everything is kind of as it was in the 19th century when it was built. And it was built by a Scotsman named John Logan, and he built it in 1882, and he was just 25 years old. And I'll tell you a bit more about him later. It's fantastic. I mean, if you look here, there's vintage cars everywhere. There's 4 different museums. It's really very, very cool. So yeah, let's go and check out the town. I am in front of the Lord Milner Hotel, this Victorian building behind me. I am standing on what looks like just a dirty field in Matjiesfontein. But this is not just any field. This was actually the site of a cricket match. Not just any cricket match, a test match between England and South Africa. The founder of this town, James Logan, was very, very wealthy, and he loved cricket. So he went to St. George's Park for the first cricket test between South Africa and England. James Logan decided that he would control the second tour to South Africa, so that's exactly what he did. He went and contacted Walter Reed, who was in charge of the England cricket team, and he basically gave him money to come to Matjiesfontein and play cricket. So this is the site of the second English cricket tour to South Africa. Would you believe it? In Matjiesfontein.
And this is that first friendly cricket match between South Africa and England, played on that pitch.
Okay, so by now James Logan is very well known, and he is in with all the cricketers. So he gets friendly with a guy called George Lohman, who was a famous cricketer who got injured, and so he went and fetched Lohman from, I think it was the hospital or wherever he was staying, and basically kept him here for free. So he had a celebrity here at Matjiesfontein, and this obviously people got to find out about it, and so gave Logan and Matjiesfontein more publicity. And now, because he was friends with Lohman, he then arranged for South Africa to tour England. When South Africa went over to England to play, one of the team members was Jimmy Logan, who was James Logan's son, and he'd never played cricket before. I mean, this was his only first-class match, and he was basically put into the South African team. So behind me is the Matjies River, which I don't have any facts about, other than to tell you that it is dry as a bone. In fact, Matjiesfontein in general is very, very dry. I mean, obviously it's in the Karoo. There is a reservoir up top where they get their water from, and I think there's a borehole. So yeah, it's just basically a little oasis, I suppose. Is Tweedside Lodge. Now this was the Logan residence. This is where he stayed while he was in Matjiesfontein, and it was named after the River Tweed in Scotland. Obviously he was a proud Scotsman. Now this house, remarkably, was the first house in South Africa to have electricity. It was the first house to have waterborne sewerage. It was also the first house to have a telephone. So yeah, I don't know if that's true. That's what they say. I mean, this place is in the middle of nowhere. There is no reason to come here except that it's Matjiesfontein. But before it was Matjiesfontein, there was no reason to come here. But James Logan basically gave people a reason to come here. He brought cricket here. He then gave the town to Her Majesty during the Second Boer War. So this is where the British soldiers, about 12,000 soldiers, were housed here. The high-ranking officers like Kitchener stayed in the main hotel. So suddenly just out of nothing, James Logan made this town into one of the most well-known towns in South Africa. What I want to show you quickly now is the hills in the background here. That is where the soldiers were stationed. Now,
Showtime. My name is Johnny. I was born here. My mom was at hot chocolate of this English guy. I'm the cappuccino.
Lohman got in big time with the British and the royal family, and he was actually invited to the coronation of Edward VII. And in the train station museum, there's actually a picture of the invite to the coronation that he went to. So you don't get much bigger if you're a Brit than getting invited to the coronation of the king. So Grandpa and Granny Mum, you'll be at the lodge thinking, wow, that's a hell of an achievement.
This is where that royal family of England during the high tea 1947.
Okay, so here's the train station here. If you do come to Matjiesfontein, pop into the museum. This is the best of the museum. There are 4 museums here in Matjiesfontein. I would say that it's a little bit cheeky to call the Standard Bank Museum a museum. It's basically a room with an old cashier and a safe. You don't really need to pay for the transport museum. Most of the cars are actually in the car park, so I wanted to go and check it out, so we did pay. And also, if you didn't want to pay, there's just a box which you put money in. There's no one there, so they kind of trust you to pay. And then there is the railway museum as
sink or toilet.
What are you doing here? The Rawdon Museum is pretty much right by the railway museum. The museums in here, check it out during the day. It's probably the best. If you're going to go to any of the museums, this is the one to go to. The Vatican City's got nothing on this place. The more you find out about this town, the more you just kind of get blown away. It really is phenomenal. And this guy, James Logan, I mean, he started it at the age of 25. Right, I am by the fire truck, finding some shelter from the wind, and it's pretty much getting too dark to film anything else. So I'm gonna head to the restaurant, go and get some food. So this is the wine we ordered, and Zach didn't want to try it, so he said just pour, and it was horrible.
That was a mistake. It's the last time I'll do that.
So we basically poured it back in, and it's going to go home as cooking wine. And what have we ordered?
We're going to upgrade to the Speed, which is the second cheapest bottle.
To finish off Logan's story, so he died when he was 63 years old, and then his son Jimmy, the cricketer who played for South Africa, he took over and ran the town until I think it was 1960, and after that no one really kind of looked after it. And then in 1968, Rawdon, who, if anyone's been to the Natal Midlands, might have gone to Rawdon's Hotel. It's that guy, the guy who owns Rawdon's, also bought this farm and renovated and brought it back into the way it was before, and it really is just a great place to come. So yeah, if you are driving along the N1 to Cape Town, stop in and stay in Matjiesfontein. It's about 2.5 hours from Cape Town, and it's just a little jewel in the Karoo. Pink drink. In Matjiesfontein, the sun is starting to set.